Good evening, everyone. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, and I'm your host, Joe Abadi. I want to thank Jordan Woodworth, Chelsea, and of course, Susie, everyone involved in putting the show together for us again this week. Let's get down to the starting line, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the show. The next time try this segment, we'll be talking about fork oil and the level, how to measure it, and some tips on that. In the Moto Showcase, we'll be taking a look at a 1981 Mako 490, something you're not going to want to miss. Here's the problem segment. We'll be taking your questions. We'll be talking about frame paint and a few other things this week. What's it worth? Got a nice Can-Am coming up, a 125 76 MX2. Dirty Bikes. Jordan's put together another video for us. I'm looking forward to seeing it a little bit later in the show. If you can, share the show. Share it with your friends. Look down at your phone, or if you're on your computer, please share it. Let other people know you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. Later on, we're going to be having a little bit of a giveaway. Susie's going to pick a random winner of anyone that shares the show. So if you get a moment, please tell your friends you're watching it. The YouTube channel is going good. I've been asking people to subscribe to our page. They've been doing it. We had about 40 or 50 new members last week. A lot of our, in fact, not a lot, all of our interviews are now on the YouTube channel as well. So you can enjoy all Vintage Motocross Q&A, all the episodes we've done of this show. Also, the interviews that we've been doing on Vintage Motocross Radio. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You could watch it in HD on your television once you do that. I want to thank our sponsors, Preston Petty Products, Vmxq&A, AMSOIL, and of course, FastGuyStuff.com. And the next time try this segment, I want to tell you a little bit about, it's a little tip that you can use when it comes to replacing the oil in your forks. Now, if you don't know how much fork oil your bike takes, and some guys don't, or if maybe you're out at a race and you can't quite figure out what the volume is, here's what you can do. You're going to drain your forks, take all the oil out. Then you're going to take a zip tie like this, just a regular white zip tie, and you're going to cut it off at 6 inches. 6 inches from this little notch right here. What you're going to do is you're going to add some oil to your forks. And you're going to take this zip tie, which is 6 inches long, and you're going to hold it right at the top. Don't drop it in there. And you're going to keep adding oil until it just starts to touch the end of that zip tie. You want to keep it 6 inches from the top. Now, here's the part you have to keep in mind. When you're adding oil to those forks, okay, you want to make sure you pump that fork as much as you can till you hear no more gurgling, no more air, no more bubbling in there. You want to make sure you have all the air out of there so you get a true reading. What do I mean by a true reading? When you put oil in the stanchion, it goes down the stanchion into the lower leg, but it hasn't risen into the lower leg yet. So as you're pumping it, it will flow through the stanchion into the lower leg. When you get to the top, and when you take your measurement, by the way, you want to make sure your fork is fully collapsed with no spring in it. Fully collapsed with no spring in it. Then you can take it and measure it 6 inches from the top. You can pull it open again, put your spring in, put your cap back on. But the secret here, and even if you know the amount of fork oil your bike does take the time to pump out the air in those forks, because you're not really getting, if you're taking a reading, you're not getting a true reading. Also, if you're not taking a reading and it just says, oh, I don't know, it just says to add 7 ounces for sake of argument. The oil's not getting down into the lower fork leg. It's just sitting there in the stanchion. When you have air in there and you have bubbles, it's not going to work properly. That's my tip. Next time, try that. In the Moto Showcase tonight, we've got a 1981 Mako 490 that was sent in to our friend, or by our friend, Fritz Gunther. And Fritz tells me that this bike has been raced at least once a month since 2005. Jordan, you roll the slides a little bit. I'm going to tell him more about Fritz's bike. Since 2005, it's only had one complete down-to-the-frame overhaul. And he's got Racetech suspension. He's got a Dutch power pipe mated to a long 88 CR500 silencer. It's got a stock ignition, and it's got an RT or RK TEK Architect head modification. Miscellaneous billet goodies, got stainless steel wide foot pegs, and it's got Sudco. He runs Sudco carburetors on there with 110 race fuel. He mixes it at 32-1, and Fritz says he likes to use Maxima 927. The engine, head, and pipe combination works best starting at the bottom with a smooth, clean transition into the mid-range, yet will rev out all the way. But it's a great bike. Fritz says very reliable. But then again, Fritz is a great Mako mechanic. He's done some incredible bikes. We've had them here on the show before. And Jordan knows firsthand how wonderful Fritz's bikes actually are. Jordan told me he had to eat the dirt off the back of that 490 tire more than once. Fritz Gunther, I want to thank you for sending in that 81 490 Mako to us. If you'll send me your address, I'm going to send you a nice sticker kit, compliments of fastguystuff.com. Dirty bikes. Jordan out in the field at some races, took some time to make a video. Jordan, let's see what you brought in for us this week.
My name is Mark Ferrister. I'm from Modesto, California. I brought out today a 2-year restoration project I've been working on, a 74.5 Mako GP 250.
My name is Steve Ergo, and today was a special day for me. I had a chance to go back in time. This is me when I was 19 years old at Ascot. This 250 had just been uncrated 3 hours earlier, and I went and broke it in practice and raced it that night. Now I'm 68 years old, and this is the next time I had a chance to ride a 250 Mako, and it was a joy. I mean, it was amazing. Super fast for this old guy, and I had a great time with it.
It's been a lot of fun to build. This was a bike that sat for over 40 years in a barn. Had a lot of people help me do the restoration on it. My good friend Jimmy Jenkins was the lead guy, so we did quite a bit of motor work. We changed the head configuration, the dome. We put a different crank in it, a different year clutch, nice new ignition, carburetor, the pipe. Everything is tuned and jetted for the motor. Suspension wise, we went with a 81 YZ 125 upper fork leg, which JP Morgan made the fit to the lowers. Back are no lean shocks. Everything is working super good, and it's just been a lot of fun. Today is the first day to take it out on the maiden voyage, and we're going to try to burn a little bit of gas today.
Dirty Bikes, episode 4, put together by Jordan out there in the field. It was great to see Steve Ergo, and I liked that bike. It had some real nice modifications on it, and I'm grateful that Jordan asked a lot of questions, and we learned a lot about that bike. Dirty Bikes, episode 4. Here's the problem. In this segment, we take your questions throughout the week. I do my best to find some answers for you. Jordan, what do we got coming up first? Robert Curé, would you suggest putting fork sliders in an oven to burn off the oil before powder coating or painting them? Now, Robert, no. Right off the bat, I wouldn't recommend you do that. You can put those lower legs, after you disassemble them, you can put those lower legs in a parts washer, get everything all cleaned out. After that, you can follow up with some brake clean, a nice, soft, long torn rag with a long screwdriver or something. Get down in there. You can get all the oil out of there, get it all nice and dry. I don't see any reason to put lower fork legs or forks at all in an oven. You can get them all nice and clean, and whether you're going to powder coat them or you're going to paint them, they'll be nice and they'll be ready to go. I'm not really sure where you may have heard that or who may have suggested it. I don't think it's a good idea. And as you can see, there's some Bultaco fork legs right there, and they were not in an oven at all. Ovens are for lasagna, not for forks. Thanks for the question, Robert. Mad cow's disease. Yeah. When selling a bike with a lot of paint wear on the frame, Would you suggest painting it before going to sell it, or is it the originality better for the value? Taking a bike apart to paint a frame is an awful lot of work, especially if you're going to sell it. Okay. Now, in a picture right here, on the left is a picture of a Yamaha, a YZ frame. Now, you can see where it looks a little bit rusty, but it doesn't look terrible. I would just take a Scotch-Brite pad, some WD-40, and I would wipe down all the rusty spots that are on that frame. When people come to look at a used bike, especially a motocross bike, they're not expecting to see it perfect. Okay. Now, if it were like the frame on the right, which is a Kawasaki KX400, the whole bike needed to be restored. But even if it looked like that, I would still do my best to get the rust off. I wouldn't take a bike apart and just to paint the frame if I were going to sell it. I think money would be better spent and time would be better spent, maybe making sure that the tires are new, making sure that the chain is good on the bike, that it's new, that it's adjusted properly, maybe a new air filter. Are the bars straight? What about the fenders and the side panels? Nobody's passing on a bike because of some frame rust. And I think that a buyer is realistic when he goes to look at the bike, when he checks it out and sees that there's some scratches on the frame or nicks. But rust can be removed, and the rest of the stuff is really, really what counts. Originality, if the rest of the bike was that original, let's say the tires were original and the fenders and everything else, then I definitely would leave it alone. But even if it wasn't, and I was trying to sell a race bike, I wouldn't take the time to take it all apart to paint or powder coat a frame just to sell the bike. Make sure everything is in working order and that it's clean. That's what really, really matters. It doesn't have to be that clean, but it should be clean. Robert Oscar Pomeroy. Last week, Robert sent in a question, and it had to do with cutting a Can-Am pipe and repacking the silencer, getting some new packing material in there. And he asked about cutting it, and I gave him some advice, and it worked for him. And I wanted to bring it back to show you guys this week exactly what he did. The first thing he did that I liked was he put these two hose clamps on each side of that weld. So it kind of gave him a guide on when he went around with the cutoff wheel in order to get that weld off. So, Robert, excellent information right there. There's the proof in the pudding. That cut is absolutely perfect. So, something you guys can take away from this program tonight is next time you have to cut a pipe like that, maybe two hose clamps where you're getting ready to make that cut would make it real straight for you. Next slide, Jordan. Once he was able to get that thing out, it was not a double wall slip fit like we had thought it was. And actually, it was a slip fit in there. And when he did get it out, you were able to see the old packing in there, which he was able to remove. And he packed it with some new material, some new fiberglass mat, just like you see right there. That's available from FMF and a whole bunch of other places. And once he repacked it, I'm going to show you what he did with the back. See, he took that piece that was a slip fit that we were talking about. He put that cap back in there, drilled 3 holes, and he put some self-tapping screws in there. Robert says that he is going to follow up by having the cone made so it looks original, where it tapers down that we saw in the original picture at the beginning. He'll have 3 holes drilled in there also. So when he slips that back in there, puts his 3 screws in, there it is right there again, Jordan, it'll look very original. And when the time comes, should he ever have to service that pipe again and change the packing, take out the 3 screws, remove that cap, and Robert Oscar Pomeroy is on his way with that pipe. I want to thank you, Robert, for sending in those pictures, and I'm glad it all worked out for you. In the What's It Worth segment tonight, we've got a 76 Can-Am MX2 125. I really like this bike, $1,820, recently sold on eBay, an exceptionally original bike with the exception of just 2 things. The front fender was changed. He has a Preston Petty mutter on there, and he mentioned something about the gas tank being repainted. Other than that, the bike was really nice. He did have a fork upgrade. He went to 35 millimeters on that, but it's got a Preston Petty fender. The original one's included. He mentioned that the tank was painted, but all the hardware on this bike, the handlebars look original. Nothing looks really abused. The pipe, there was a nice shot of the pipe from underneath the bike, so you could see that thing wasn't all bashed in. The hardware looks nice. That fiberglass side panel on the right-hand side looks to be in excellent condition. The hardware looks original. And for $1,820, this is a great little bike to race some vintage races in the 125 class. It's got the aluminum rims, which is a nice touch, which is 74, and I don't think the 75 had in Can-Ams, but maybe it did, but 74s definitely didn't have them. Anyway, $1,820 for a Can-Am 125. It was sold down in Florida, and there's the picture I was talking about. This picture speaks volumes. From under that bike, you can really see that the bike was really never abused. So I thought it was a great deal for $1,820. We're going to be back next week with the What's It Worth segment with Bill Mascio and I on the screen again. We weren't able to really get together on time this week in order to make a video for you. But for this week, we got the Can-Am. For next week, we'll see what Bill Mascio and I come up with for What's It Worth. The 522 project continues this week. I'm going to bring you a little bit more information on what we're doing step by step with this project. This week, we're going to be talking about the rims and the hubs and what we did in order to come as close as we can to replicating the RC 125 in 1974. Jordan, let's see what the video looks like. I'm really excited to tell you about the next installment on our 522 project. We're talking about the rims this week, and I'm going to show you some of the slight differences there are between the production 1974 CR 125 and the RC 125 that we're going to be replicating. You could see on the 1974 rim that the edge is flat. It doesn't have a little bead on it like this. The 1975 rims, the production rims, did come with a little flange like this, a little edge on the side of the rim. So for our 1974 project, because it came with that style rim, we're going to be using 1975 rims on our project for the RC 125. Not only did we use the 1975 rim, we went for a special look on the hub. On your production bikes, of course, they're finished in aluminum and they're painted a satin black. On your factory bikes, on your works bikes, you would see something that was made of sand cast, either sand cast magnesium or sand cast aluminum. So we went for that look, and in our paint, when we had it mixed up, we had a sand finished in the paint, and then we applied it to this hub, so it would look a little more authentic when we go to complete our project. I think it turned out pretty good. Well, that's it for our installment on the rims for the 522 project. As you can see, the spokes are new. We also had the nipples done in a yellow zinc, so everything looks authentic. Next week in the 522 project segment, I'm going to show you how I made this trick ignition cover, which looks very authentic to the one found on the RC 125. When you see how I did it, well, I think you're going to like it. Thanks, Jordan, for putting that video together for us. And yeah, next week I am going to tell you a little bit more about this cover, and I think I'm going to bring you another part of that bike next week too. 522 project coming along. I hope everyone's enjoying the videos that we've been putting together for the past several weeks on that bike. In the product spotlight tonight, we've got Preston Petty Products, one of the fabulous sponsors we have of the show. We are an authorized dealer for Preston Petty Products, but you can go to their website at any time and order directly from them. And this week we have a special, so we're going to tell you a little bit about that. 10% off this 3-piece Enduro set. It's in blue only, okay? 3-piece Enduro set, 10% off. The price is $205. And from there, you're going to get 10% off. Now, if you went to buy these pieces all separately at the Preston Petty website, separately, it would be over $300. They're running a special there right now for $205. But because you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, they're a sponsor of the show, they're going to give you an additional 10% off, only in blue. So if you've got an IT Yamaha or you've got a Bultaco out there with that shade of blue on it, you want to get over to the Preston Petty website and order that up. It's only available until Sunday, but you have to inbox me here at the show. Inbox me and I'll give you the code. So when you go to checkout, you put in your coupon code, you're going to get your 10% discount. Tomorrow, I'll also put on the page about this special. And on that post that I make, you'll be able to put on the bottom, send me the code, and I'll send you the code. This way we make sure everybody gets it. Thank you, Preston Petty Products, Paul Stannard, Patty Stannard, for all you do here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. Vmxq. They've got a really interesting thing on their website. that I noticed the other day. I've actually seen it before, but we haven't really featured it here on the show. They've got piston dimensions, okay? Now, Vmxq sells pistons for Bultakos, Honda, Suzuki, Kawasaki, and Yamaha. But the great thing about it is they've got all the dimensions of the piston on their page. Now, sometimes I've heard of some pistons fitting some bikes, but you got to make sure certain things are done. I think there was something about a RM400 piston fitting a certain year Mako. Now, you want to make sure that the measurements are exactly correct when you go to try and use that piston in your bike. Vmxq's put together a beautiful piston dimension program right here on their page with all the pistons they make, all the sizes. So I want to thank Jay, Kurt Leverton, everybody at Vmxq for being a sponsor of Vintage Motocross Q&A. I want to urge everybody to go over and look at their website after the show tonight. Over 650 items and growing at Vmxq. Don't miss it. They've got something there for you. Let's take a look at their commercial, Jordan.
Classic and vintage dirt bikes are more than a hobby. It's not just about the ride. It's about the work that goes in. The work that keeps you connected to the ride. It's about bringing the bike back to life and doing it with your own hands. It's about the adrenaline and adventure. And when it comes to putting all the pieces together, only Vmxq knows the bikes and parts the way you do. Vmxq. Keep the ride going.
Be sure to visit them at vmxq.com. And when you see that new ad there running, you're going to say, wow, look at that YZ360. Whose bike is that? I want to thank Vmxq for using my 1975 YZ360 in their ad. It looks pretty good there. So go over to Vmxq after the show and check out all the great parts they have for sale. We do have a winner in the share, and we're going to be sharing, or we're going to be giving them a real nice sticker kit. Compliments of Vintage Motocross Q&A. I'm not going to tell you what it is because, well, I've got a couple of different things. I've got some FastGuyStuff.com stickers. I've got AMSOIL stickers. I might have some Vmxq stuff. I got a few different things in there. But Wade Owen, I want to thank you for sharing the show tonight. And if you would be so kind as to get us your address, I'm going to get that sticker package together for you, and we're going to get it out. Wade Owen, thank you so much for sharing the show. Announcements, we got some good ones tonight. Vintage Motocross Radio is going really, really well. It's been growing every week. I enjoy doing the show tremendously. I really do. We've had some wonderful guests. Last week, we had Scott Harden on with some of the most incredible stories of his adventures throughout Africa, South America, all different places that he has ridden throughout his career. Jordan, why don't you run some of those couple of clips from Scott Harden?
The best way I can describe it is, imagine stadium hoops, but they're not evenly spaced, they're randomly spaced, they're all over the place, and they're carpeting the desert, and there's not more than 5 or 10 feet between them.
Oh.
So you cannot ride in a straight line. You cannot ride over them, or if you hit one, it's an instant endo. They're peaked as hell. And so some of the smaller ones, you just hit and ride over and try to jump. The other ones, you have to ride around. In between the camera grass, the sand is very soft. So you're riding a 500-pound motorcycle in very soft sand conditions for hours on end. And I'm telling you, it's the camel grass. Anybody that knows it's ridden in it before will attest that it's some of the toughest conditions in the world. Some sections were considered extreme if you had to do 30 or 40 miles of that stuff. We did 120 miles that day. And we wanted to be the first Americans to win Dakar. So we went over and did all of these smaller rallies on smaller teams to try to get attention. We were trying to go and get a ride in a factory Dakar team. At the end of that period, after winning it, in the first 4 rallies I rode, I got first, second, and third. Out of the 4 of them, I was on the podium 3 times. I still couldn't get a factory ride. that's when I decided, it's too political. I'm not French. I'm not Italian. I'm not going to get one of the factory seats. I'm just going to go back home and get a job. And remember, I had a family, 2 small children.
Sure.
I was gone for months on end doing this stuff, racing very dangerous races. That cush desk job seemed like a really good choice at that time.
I bet. Scott Harden interview from last week. You really want to listen to it, especially the parts where he talks about going across the border and winding up in Libya in 1987. Not a time to be in Libya. Scott Harden, I want to thank you for being my guest last week. This week, I am absolutely thrilled to announce that my guest will be Dave Arnold. Dave Arnold, of course, the factory mechanic for Marty Smith for many years and employed by Honda for such a long time. We're going to be talking about his career at Honda, what he did before he got there. We'll be talking about what he's doing now with helping out Terry Good with the new museum coming up. Join me at 11 a.m. Sunday morning. Once again, my guest will be Dave Arnold. Marty Smith commemorative stickers are still available from my friend Rich Vasallo. Get in touch with Rich at USA 1899. Don't know how much longer these stickers are going to be produced, but a lot of people are buying them. Wally Hackensmith donated some artwork to that. Rich Designs out in New Jersey is printing them out, and Rich Vasallo is doing all he can to get those stickers out to you. Marty Smith, commemorative decal stickers, get them while they last. Vintage Motocross Q&A t-shirts, just like the one I'm wearing right here. They're available for $21.99. This is something that Jordan has put together. Some people have bought them. So far, I haven't heard any complaints. I'm wearing one. I like it. It's got some information on the back. If you send us a picture of you wearing the shirt, we're going to make a little album that we're going to be sharing on our website, on the Vintage Motocross Q&A site, and we'll get some pictures of you in there. Now, I did get some pictures so far of people wearing the shirt, but they send in pictures of them wearing the shirt with no pants. So if you're going to send in a picture, no mask, but wear pants and the shirt. Okay? Okay. Got a nice picture. Terry Goodwin a body right here. Nice gal from Facebook. No relation to me. She went out and bought a shirt. She sent us in a picture. And we're going to be making an album. Terry Goodwin, thank you so much for purchasing a shirt from us, and a few other people that did it too. So $21.95 is it, Jordan? $22.95? How much is it? Not much. $21.99. You get a great shirt. Hanes cotton. Fits beautiful. Breathes. Hanes. You remember Hanes. Remember Michael Jordan used to do the commercial in the underwear? Ah, forget it. What else we got, Jordan? Oh, FastGuyStuff.com still supplying us with stickers for the bikes in the Moto Showcase. So if you get a minute, go over to FastGuyStuff.com after the show tonight. See all the great products they have over there. Sponsorship opportunities are still available at Vintage Motocross Q&A. I've been speaking to a few people, and we're close to putting together a few more deals. So I've got some room left. I've got some time left between the this show on Wednesdays and the show on Sunday. So if you're interested in becoming a sponsor for either one or both of those shows, drop me a line in my inbox. I'll get your proposal. We'll put something together for you that fits your budget. You'll be getting some real great exposure over the airwaves here on Facebook and on YouTube pretty soon too. We're not too far away from getting on our way with the YouTube live videos too. Jordan, I think that's about it for tonight, huh? Well, I want to thank everybody for watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. Susie and Gino have missed their cue. I know that's a big thing for everybody every week, but it doesn't seem to be that Gino is going to come in here tonight. Is he going to make it? Gino! There he is. I didn't think he was going to make it. Thanks everyone for watching. Jordan, Chelsea, Susie, thanks for all the help. And Gino, we're going to have to get you some acting lessons. How you making on time for your cue. Good night, everybody. Bye.